Hi folks, JD here and welcome to Comics Are Awesome, where we bring you everything awesome in comics. Well, it's that time of year when critics do top 10 lists because they're too drunk from eggnog and hungover. But in the spirit of conformity, here's my top 5 new comics of 2010. Okay, in all seriousness, I'd like to reiterate, this is my personal top 5 list. What does that mean exactly? Well, ever since I started doing the show, I've been trying to expand my reading as much as I can, so that way I can give you everything that's awesome in comics. But there's still a lot of comics I haven't read yet. So keep that in mind while I go through this list. But if you have a problem with it, just remember, I'm right and you're wrong. So there. Go get your own show. Number 5, Avengers Academy. Teenage supergroups are a trope of the genre. Teen Titans, New Mutants, New Warriors, Young Justice, Young Avengers. Man, these kids must love being reminded that they're not adults at every waking moment. But this year we got an interesting spin on things when Marvel unleashed Avengers Academy. 6 superpowered teens are enrolled into a newly formed Avengers Academy under the tutelage of established Avengers like Hank Pym, Tigra, Quicksilver, and Justice, and to train the kids to potentially become the next generation of Avengers. But the students all suspect something is fishy going on. After sneaking into their teacher's computer system, they discover the truth. They weren't selected because of their abilities or potential to become heroes, but rather they were the ones subjected to the worst tortures under Osborn's reign, and thus most likely to become an emotional power keg with superpowers. The Academy isn't there to train the next generation of heroes, but to potentially circumvent the next generation of villains. This is an incredibly clever twist on this type of book, and coupled with some really good dialogue and character moments. The only reason I don't rate it higher is because so far the issues have focused more on establishing who the kids and the instructors are, making it more episodic and not delivering a strong feeling that the overall story is going somewhere. But I think it's a strong contender and often overlooked in a sea of Avengers-related books. Number 4, Batwoman. Okay, I'm cheating a bit here, but can you blame me? Well, as of this writing, the series proper hasn't launched yet. It has released its number 0 issue as a preview, and dear God, I want more. Following the highly praised run in Detective Comics by Greg Rucka and G.H. Williams III, Williams takes over as both writer, along with W. Hayden Blackman, and shares art duties with Amy Reeder. And man, is this not one of the most beautifully drawn books you've ever seen. While it remains to be seen if Williams can deliver as much as Rucka in terms of writing, the art alone is probably worth the cover price. And the 0 issue delivered a good recap of the character for new people. I highly suspect this would have been higher on the list if more issues were out at this time. Number 3, Action Comics. Again, I'm cheating, but screw you, this is my list. Go make your own. While Action Comics has been around forever, the new run by writer Paul Cornell and artist Pete Woods is such a change of direction from its norm that I think it qualifies for this list. While Action Comics has traditionally been a vehicle for Superman, but recently Superman began a weird quest to walk across America that I really can't be bothered to care about in the main Superman book. But with Superman pretty much being regulated to only that title, Action Comics had to find something else to do with itself, starting with issue 890. Instead of focusing on Superman or one of his allies, we instead get a look at the Man of Steel's greatest enemy, Lex Luthor. While you might think that Lex, without a Superman to play foil to, would be boring, but you would probably be surprised. While this isn't the first comic to feature a supervillain as its lead, many of those would try to soften the blow by making them anti-heroes, tough and gritty guys who perhaps have noble intentions but go about it in ways that more square-jawed heroes wouldn't approve of. This book doesn't do any of that. Lex Luthor is out to serve Lex Luthor and only Lex Luthor, and damn anyone who gets in his way. But that doesn't mean you can't have fun following his antics. The plot so far involves Lex seeking out the energy that powered the Black Lantern rings during the Blackest Night crossover event, but really it's just an excuse to throw Lex Luthor into a wide variety of situations, many of which, to the best of my knowledge, he's never been in before. Whether it's dealing with the mental manipulation from the evil caterpillar Mr. Mind, yeah, caterpillar, only in comics folks, to fighting off the Teen Titans mercenary villain Deathstroke, or apprenticing under the new god Tyrant Darkseid, it's a wide variety. But the highlight so far has been an appearance from Death of the Endless. For those of you who are familiar with Neil Gaiman's Sandman, Death's appearance here seems very much like an issue from that comic. This isn't a gratuitous cameo, but it makes sense for the story. Excellently told and good use of complex villain. Action Comics is the most interested I've been with anything in the Superman family of titles in a long time. Number 2. Morning Glories. Do you remember Lost? Of course you do. The show with a mysterious backstory that left you intrigued and on the edge of your seat week after week, grasping at every little nugget that hinted at an answer. And then the finale aired, and much of the fan base wept bitter tears. Well, this series by Nick Spencer and Joe Eisma is just like that. Without the disappointment. I hope. In all seriousness, though, it's a pretty darn intriguing series. There are 6 new students who are inducted into the Morning Glory Academy, a prestigious private school. But very quickly, the kids realize that they aren't just students, but prisoners as well. And the lessons the Academy seems to teach keep the stakes higher than a poor GPA. Well, at this point, it's hard to make heads or tails of the Academy's motivations and why these kids were chosen. I love a good mystery. Spencer does a good job establishing a sense of suspense and setting up wheels within wheels of intrigue. Joe Eisman's art is simple but effective and very good at telling the story on the page. I have to confess, I'm hooked and I want to see what other secrets lie in the classrooms of Morning Glory Academy. Number 1. S.H.I.E.L.D. If Morning Glories was a pastiche of Lost, then S.H.I.E.L.D. is one of the Assassin's Creed video game series. S.H.I.E.L.D. is an organization that has existed in the Marvel Universe for decades as a spy group led by Nick Fury. This book by Jonathan Hickman and the amazing Dustin Weaver isn't about that, but seems to be somewhat tied to it. Instead, we get a crazy conspiracy theory story that goes throughout history. The scope of this story can only be described as epic. The first issue hits the ground running, telling 2 stories. The first of the story is Leonid, a boy with a destiny, being captured and inducted into the S.H.I.E.L.D. Brotherhood, and how he fits into not only the organization's goals, but Leonid's father, the enigmatic entity only known as the Night Machine. The other half is a series of short vignettes detailing the complex history of S.H.I.E.L.D., everything from its formation when Pharaoh Imhotep helped turn away an invasion from the alien brood, to Galileo confronting the planet-eating Galactus, to Leonardo da Vinci traveling to the sun. To me, this is everything that makes comics awesome. A big, crazy storyline that would be almost ridiculous if it weren't just as fun. Growing up as a Marvel zombie, this seems like a huge love letter to the long history of the Marvel Universe. A love letter written in a cipher, perhaps, but one nonetheless. Hickman and Weaver add a ton of little details that don't interrupt your enjoyment of the story if you don't get the reference, but make you love it all the more if you do. Not only the big obvious things like Zhang Hing and confronting one of the Celestials, but things that if you're not paying attention you can miss. The agents who pick up Leonid, that's Howard Stark and Nathaniel Richards, better known as the respective fathers to Iron Man and Mr. Fantastic. The section where we see Imhotep fighting the Brood, look closely in the crowd scene and you'll see both X-Men baddie Apocalypse and the original Moon Knight, whose modern-day successor would become one of Marvel's street-level heroes. S.H.I.E.L.D. is, quite frankly, a book that hits all my buttons in the right place, and thus earns it my top new series of 2010. Well, that's it for this year. These were my top 5 new comics of 2010. But feel free to write in and let me know what I may have missed. Have a happy and safe New Year's, and I'll see you again in 2011. Because comics are awesome, and we're going to get the word out.